Um, Thanks to the other speakers. I'd like to also pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land here and to their elders past and present. And thanks for the welcome. It is great to see such a great crowd here tonight and to start the beginning of the, not the beginning, but the campaign against this so-called nuclear renaissance, which we all know is nothing but a pack of lies, as Dave and everyone else tonight has very clearly demonstrated. It's also wonderful to see the you traditional owners who've come such a long distance to be here, and I'd like to acknowledge your courage. It's very moving, sorry. It's very moving to see the courage that Diane spoke of in terms of what it's taken for her to speak out and to be here and to visit Lucas Heights, which from many long visits in Lucas Heights I know is not a pleasant experience, and to come down and to be willing to face that, look at it, to say it's wrong what they're doing to the country, and to speak out against other people who are claiming a black voice is very, very hard, and I'd like to acknowledge that. We know why we need a nuclear waste dump in Australia. We know 80% of the waste that would go to a nuclear waste dump comes from Sydney. This is why Sydney, we have to be the start of the opposition to this so-called renaissance. We know we have a reactor at Lucas Heights because we have Maralinga. Our link in Sydney with our Aboriginal brothers and sisters has never changed through this whole industry. Since 1956, and before that, when they dropped bombs on Maralinga, and then they did a deal to have a nuclear reactor in Sydney that would give us the potential for nuclear weapons in Australia. From that moment, our fate was sealed to be together and to fight against this industry. We can see every step of the way without, I'm not going to talk a lot of detail because other people are now more up to date with some of these issues than I am, and we want to have a lot of time tonight to talk about how we build a campaign in Sydney, how we help particularly Holly and the Nuclear Free Coalition move forward. But we know that the whole industry is built on lies. The whole campaign to have a reactor in Sydney was built on lies, lies, lies. And the 20 years of opposition to that campaign showed that every step of the way. The lack of truthfulness, they have a lack of openness about even basic things like safety, reference accidents, where the waste is going to go, how we'll deal with that. It's just been a 20-year campaign of outright lying. What's it for even? We can't even be told the truth about that. We're told some nonsense about saving babies through nuclear medicine, or you know, that we'll all be dying in the street if we don't have a nuclear reactor in Sydney. Nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. One after the next. And then we end up, what do we have in Sydney? A white elephant that cannot produce a thing, can't operate, doesn't even meet basic environmental requirements, that if they'd read or looked at any of the detailed reports that people like Sutherland Shire Council did put forward with very well qualified consultants showing flaws in the design, etc. They built it, they can't operate it, they've sunk 500 million of our tax dollars into it, and not a cent more should go there. If we don't know what to do with the waste, we shouldn't be creating it. And that's the whole point of the exercise and what we're on about in opposing the dump and starting a campaign. We can't, and I'd just like to acknowledge, I won't go on with more of that, but it's very clear that this dump, now that we don't have Yucca Mountain, there will be a renewed push if we have a dump in Australia for the taking of international waste, as well as the waste from Sydney, as well as waste from anywhere else that we could make a quick buck to do it. So it has to be opposed. It has to be opposed if Australia is to have any dignity whatsoever in this whole nuclear question. I'd like to put our focus on how we do campaign against it tonight. Tonight I am here as not just a local campaigner, but as the State Secretary of the NTEU. Our union has given support to the visitors we have here tonight, and there are many other unions who have strong anti-nuclear policies, as the NTEU does. NTEU is the union that covers people who work in universities. It's a very difficult thing to campaign against the nuclear industry in Sydney, because we have millions of dollars poured in by the federal government to our opponents, Ziggy Kowalski and people like that, leading the nuclear renaissance, who cannot even operate their own reactor up the hill at Lucas Heights. We have millions put into the propaganda, the lies that are told by the industry in Sydney. So we need a very coordinated campaign. The easy part is, it is such nonsense. As Dave said, we know the answer. We know where our hearts lie and what we think should be done on this industry. We know that there are so many important industries that the government should be spending money on in terms of renewables, what can be done. Examples all out there, and yet we still have this nonsense going on that we're going to sink every last dollar we have into the nuclear industry. But then somehow the other industries are going to come forward because we have a carbon CPRS scheme, and somehow the magic of the market will produce all these wonderful industries. Or as Dave said, we're not in the business of government picking industries. We can pick the nuclear industry, all right, but we can't seem to pick anything constructive. We must highlight this, and I think tonight we can start by working out what sort of strong opposition can be brought into play to oppose the industry. Tomorrow's demonstration, I think, is a great start to make sure that those people coming for the industry in their smoky glass cars see that there is opposition there. And I noticed their program has them visiting all the highlights or the lowlights of Australia in regards to the industry. Just in closing, would like to thank everybody involved in this and wish you all the best in the campaign, and let's start looking for how we can build alliances with trade unions and community groups and just anybody opposed to the industry, and emphasise again what Scott said so very well, that everything helps. Everything we do is going to be constructive and is going to make the difference in this campaign. Thank you.